Okay, so we are going to do our second day of slope from a table. This is all going to be review. Okay, we have done this before. We just need some more practice with it. So there will be a lot of me telling you to pause the video and work the problems, and then you turning the video back on to check your work. Okay, just make sure you do that. If I tell you to pause and work it, you do that so that you are sure that you understand what's going on. Okay, so first, let's once again review what slope is. So slope is a ratio, and I want you to pause the video and I want you to write in what the ratio is when we are finding slope. Okay, did you remember? Slope is, for a line, the amount of vertical change over the amount of horizontal change. It's the ratio of the vertical change to the horizontal change. In symbols, we say delta y over delta x. That means the change in y values move up and down, over the change in x values move left to right. The first way we found slope was slope from a graph. Okay, so look at this first one. I want you to tell me the type of slope. Is it positive, negative, zero, or undefined? And I want you to actually find the slope of this graph. So pause the video, tell me the type of slope, find the slope for this line on this graph. Okay, did you get that it had positive slope and the slope was 1? You may have drawn a different slope triangle than I did. My slope triangle's not real great. You may have had a bigger triangle, but if you did, you should have gotten like 2 over 2 or 3 over 3 or something that simplified to 1. Okay, so here's the second one. Tell me the type of slope, positive, negative, 0, or undefined, and then find the slope. Pause the video now and complete this problem. So this line has negative slope, and the change in y over change in x is a 1 over 2, so it's negative 1/2. If you used a bigger slope triangle, then you should have gotten something like negative 2/4 or negative 3/6 or something else that would have simplified to negative 1/2. Okay, now we're ready to review slope from a table. So here are some tables that show linear relationships. That means if we were to graph them, we would see a line, and we're going to find the slope from each table. If at any time you want to do all of these by yourself, feel free to pause the video, do all the work, then turn the video back on to check your work. I'm going to work the first one with you, and then I'm going to have you work the other 3 on your own. Okay, so I need the change in y. Y is on the right side of the table. If you need your number line, it is on your notes from the other day, so get those notes out if you need to. Remember, you can also use a calculator to subtract and find your number that way. Okay, so change in y. How do I get from 8 to 12? Well, I get from 8 to 12 by adding 4. Right? So I could do 12 minus 8 on my calculator and get 4. I could also see on a number line that from 8 to 12, I would skip 4 spaces. Okay? How do I get from 12 to 16? Once again, I add 4. So my change in y is a positive 4. How do I get from 0 to 2? Well, from 0 to 2, I add 2. How do I get from 2 to 4? From 2 to 4, I also add 2. So my change in x is a positive 2. This simplifies. You could put that in your calculator to see if it simplifies. 4 over 2 simplifies to 2. So the slope of the line, if we were to graph this, its slope is 2. Okay? All right, so I want you to try this one. Pause the video, try to find the slope from the table, then turn the video back on and check your work. Okay, for this one, the change in y each time was a negative 5. The change in x was a positive 1. So negative 5 over a positive 1 simplifies to a negative 5. All right, you ready for this one? This one has some negatives, so be careful with it. Pause the video, see what you can do with it, then turn the video back on and check your work. All right, if you find the negatives confusing, a number line would be very helpful. Okay, so to get from -6 to -5, that's getting bigger. So that's the positive direction, one space. From -5 to -4 is a +1. From -12 to -10, that's getting bigger. So it's a positive and it's two spaces. -10 to -8 is +2. So my change in y is 1, my change in x is 2. +1 over +2 is +1/2. Okay? All right, you try this one. Okay, so from 9 to 6, I go down 3, 6 to 3, I go down 3. 24 to 20, I go down 4, 20 to 16, I go down 4. And what happens here, I have a -3 over a -4, and a negative divided by a negative is a positive, so my slope is a positive 3/4. Okay, you are ready to do some mixed practice. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so I'm going to do these two at a time. Okay, so I'm going to tell you to pause your video and work numbers 1 and 2. Then I'm going to tell you to turn your video back on, check your work, and make any corrections that you need to make. If you don't understand where the answer came from, then ask for help from Miss Gibbs or Miss B. Okay, so pause the video, work number 1 and 2, turn the video back on, and check your work. Okay, number 1, I got 1/3. Number 2, I got 1. If that's not what you got, make corrections. If you don't understand, ask for help. Now pause the video again, work numbers 3 and 4, turn the video back on, and check your work. Number 3, I got the slope was a +2. Number 4, I got the slope was a +4. If you missed either one of those, make corrections. If you don't understand, ask for help. All right, we're about ready to try the last two, I believe. It is the last two. So I want you to try numbers 5 and 6. Pause the video, work these two problems. When you're done, turn the video back on and check your work. Okay, number 5, I got a slope of -10. And number 6, from this graph, it had negative slope, and I got the change in y over change in x was 2/3, so it has slope -2/3. Okay, all right, we're going to do some more mixed practice. You are ready to do your assignment and go see what it is.